Welcome back to the Midlife Muscle Podcast. I'm your host, Joey Atlas, and today's great guest is Katheryn the Great. Welcome to the show, Katheryn.
Thanks for having me.
Absolute pleasure. So, for anybody tuning in on audio, you're going to want to check out all the video versions of these podcasts. And you can do that by taking the shortcut. All you have to do is go to midlifemusclepodcast.com. That's a shortcut link right to the main YouTube podcast video channel. And while you're at it, you're also going to want to sign up for the free newsletter. There's a lot of other extras we share in there, follow-ups, photos, recipes, etc. at midlifemusclenews.com, News.com, midlifemusclenews.com. And if anybody happened to see Dr. D's interview, Katheryn is Dr. D's nominee. This is his wife, Katheryn. Dr. D is actually in our viewing audience behind the cam on a beautiful custom couch we brought in just for him. So he is relaxing and recuperating. Did you guys train today?
Yeah.
You did?
Just left the gym.
Okay, so you just came from there. I beat you guys. I was in and out before you guys probably got in there. So I think I missed you guys. All right, so Katheryn, here's what we're going to do. I've been starting everybody off by giving them a little chance to just do a quick, brief intro, like who's Katheryn? What's the quick summary of this lady? So give it to us. Age, profession, whatever else you want to share in a minute or two.
Okay. So Katheryn DeVincentis, 40-year-old. That was the big thing that happened for me last year.
40 years young.
Yeah. I have two bonus kids and a son of my own. So that's 23 and 20. So Marissa's 23, Dominic's 20, and Colin is 22. Well, Marissa will be 23. So there's like a 10-year spread there. I was a nurse.
Colin's what age?
Colin is 12.
12.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
I went into nursing school. I've been a nurse for 15 years. In 2020, I kind of got really overwhelmed with COVID, and that's when I really got into, I've always been into fitness since I've met my husband, but it really, I dedicated in 2020, and I stepped away from bedside nursing, and I started doing iLipo, and once we kind of got that up and going.
Inside the practice.
Inside of his practice, yeah. We were working together, really closely for that time, and then real estate started booming. So then I turned real estate agent. So I've worn many hats in this life.
And you still do.
I still do. And I guess, we're avid scuba divers, hunters, fishermen. We love the outdoors. And so I would say I'm I was born and raised in Arkansas. So I'm an Arkansas girl turned Floridian. And if somebody asked me where I was from, if my husband was standing right there, he'd say, "Oh, she's from Arkansas," because he loves that about me. But I don't know. I just say I'm a Florida girl through and through.
Understood. Great intro, by the way. Thank you. That's on point. Lots of places to dig in here. So, do you remember after Rob was on, you and I were standing on the turf. We happened to be doing lower body, so we were doing walking lunges, and we were talking.
8-leg day. I remember it.
Understood. And you were like, "Well, I don't know what I'm going to talk about because he already told you everything about us." And I said, "Wait a minute. We're going to go back to your childhood and the before story." Then you started spilling the beans.
Yeah.
I was like, all right, now we're talking. That's what we're going to be talking about.
Okay.
So for those of you who don't know, Katheryn's before story is a woman who, if I remember right, I didn't know anything. I was doing all the wrong things. Was never into working out, nutrition. Used to be a smoker. Smoker, right?
So I was a partier. I drank a lot more.
Lot of drinking.
I lived the young person life.
Right.
I did all the
things.
No
fitness, no attention.
In fairness, I have always been thinner. My mom's thin.
But not by your efforts.
Nothing. But after I got pregnant and I was on bed rest and I gained a lot of weight, and I'll tell you that story.
Yeah.
That's when I was like, whoa, I got to lose some weight, and I got to do it the old-fashioned way. I got to do. You're not just gonna drop weight just because you're always thin.
What was your heaviest weight?
185.
All right, so 185. What are you now?
I'd say about 115.
115.
Between on my off season, I'm between 118, 115, and when I'm really like in cut, if I get between
Like
112,
summer.
yeah, 112, 113 is where I sit.
And what's your height?
5'5".
5'5". Okay. Good context there. All right, so let's go back to your childhood. How long were you in Arkansas?
I moved from Arkansas to St. Augustine when I was 10, so 10 years.
Okay, so 10 years in Arkansas. Any siblings?
Yes, I have one sister.
One sister. Where is she?
She's currently in Colorado.
Okay. All right, so did the whole family move out of Arkansas together?
Well, no, just my mom and my sister and I. Yeah, so I was 10. So,
Right,
she was 12. So my mom, they were divorced. My mom remarried, and she met my stepdad, who's, I call him my dad, who's been in my life forever.
Right.
And he was from Miami, and he wanted to live in Florida again, but not Miami.
Understood.
So he said, you know what, St. Augustine's beautiful. And we kind of just like looked at a Florida map and just decided on St. Augustine.
Wow.
And this was almost 30 years ago.
Right.
Wow, it's a long time. And it was very different then,
Oh,
and
yeah.
Jacksonville at that time to me was like forever away. And, I'll tell you how I ended up in Jacksonville, but I just remember, coming to Florida and us going to like, Tampa, Pensacola, Destin, like all the places, and Tallahassee, and like we came to St. Augustine and we just knew it was home. It was
Right.
just such a beautiful place. So yeah, I lived in Arkansas until I was 10.
Straight to St. Augustine, and you were there for most of your life.
My last year in elementary school, all of elementary, then middle and high school, all St. Augustine, and then I went to college in Gainesville, and then I finished up in St. Augustine, and that's where I got my nursing degree.
In St. Augustine.
St. John's River Community College. It's now a state college.
Right, right. So you got your nursing degree. What type of nursing did you specialize in?
Well, so whenever you first get your nursing degree, they really do suggest that you start off in med-surg, and I took that suggestion to heart. So whenever I started in Gainesville, I did 3 years internship, and I was like med-surg certified. I did the med-surg life. I really did enjoy it.
What is med-surg for those who don't know?
Medical surgical is really kind of like, well, it's not cardiac, it's not ortho, it's not this, it's not that. It all just kind of like, if it doesn't fit in somewhere else, it's med-surg.
Right.
Like if you come in with pneumonia, you're going to probably go to a med-surg floor. If you come in with like a heart attack, I'm not going to see
Right.
you. You're going to go to a cardiac unit.
Right, right. Excellent. Okay. So as we're getting going here, I'll remind you, like I do every episode, you're going to want to stay tuned to the end because Katheryn is going to nominate a future guest. She's going to ask me a power question, and she may have reformulated it as we're speaking here. I know we got your wheels turning, and we're going to share 2 of your social medias. One is going to be an Instagram page. The other is going to be a reminder of the practice website. Cool? All right. So after the med-surg stint in nursing, did you do other types of nursing?
Oh yeah. So, about 2 years into nursing, I became a mom. And so I ended up moving back to St. Augustine to be near my family. I worked at Flagler. And so I also did some GI nursing in the office with Borland Gruber. So I did that. And then I did OR. So I would do the endoscopy suite. So I would see patients in the office for GI symptoms. And then I would actually see like the procedures, which I thought was really cool.
Right.
And about that time is whenever I got a divorce, and then I, found my now husband, and then I ended up coming up to Jacksonville and doing ICU through Memorial. And then I did transplant through Mayo.
Wow.
And if I had to go back, which I will probably go back to nursing at some point, it would be transplant. I just am fascinated by
Understood.
Yeah.
I can see that.
I mean, it's like you see people dying and then they're literally brought back to, it's wild how cool like medicine is.
And to be a part of that is got to be rewarding.
Very.
Okay, so let's dial it back just a little bit. How old were you when you got divorced?
32.
Okay, and then 32. When did you meet Rob?
32.
32.
My divorce was finalized in like 4 months. But you know, you go through a separation.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely.
So my divorce was finalized, and I meet Robert like 4 months later. You know,
All right.
5 months
So
later.
if I remember right, there was an intro made, right? There was somebody who thought the two of you should meet.
Yep. So while I was working in the OR, I, started talking to this doctor who, asked me if I ever go to Jacksonville. And I'm like, well, not really, because again, like at that time, Jacksonville was like forever
Sure.
away. Now I drive back and forth to
Yeah,
St. Augustine all the
easy.
time to see my parents,
Right.
but at the time I didn't know anybody there. It just wasn't my thing. And he ended up giving him my number. I said, well, if he's interested, he can, show him a picture of me or whatever and give him my number. And he reached out. So, I mean, it was kind of like a really I've never heard another story like it, how that worked out.
Were you surprised, Rob?
I think he looked me up on Facebook first. He was like, I don't know.
All right.
Still single, really?
Uh-huh. Hey, that's smart. Good. Like, wow.
Yeah.
All right, she looks pretty good. What's the catch here? All right. So if I remember right, you guys met on that lunch blind date, and you both pretty much knew right there and then, like, yeah, I'm interested.
Yeah, and the thing is, when you're on your second time around,
Right.
you're kind of like, I know what I'm looking for. And we weren't kids, you
Yeah.
know. I was 32. I think he was like 44. We're not kids.
Right.
So we knew, what we were looking for, but more importantly, we knew what we were not looking for.
Yeah.
And he was almost like, to me, I was like, this guy's too good to be true. He's like a chiropractic physician. He's great looking. What's going on here? And so I don't know. That's what was the period of us getting to know each other. Where
Sure.
It's like,
Right.
I don't know. I think it's a God thing. I think, I
Yes.
think I'm cheating at life, like being married to him, because I feel like, whenever I'm like, I don't want to go to the gym today, like he's the one, like he is so unwavering.
Yeah.
It's like, I go through periods where I'm like, I'm ready to do this. And then sometimes I'm like, I don't really care. And like, I'll go through a week where I'm like, I'm just going to eat junk and just, I can't be on point every day.
Right. Understood.
He can be on point every day. Like, I don't know how he has it in him. It's like innate. Like, it's like, I wish I could bottle
It's
that
part
up
of the
and
disease
sell
we
it.
have.
I mean, if you could bottle that up and sell it, you'd make a lot of money, you
Yeah.
know? But he
Yeah.
really does keep me on track, like, it's like, okay, well, whenever you're ready to come back, I'm going. It's like he reminds me,
Right.
I'm going to the gym. Are you going to come,
Yeah.
So it helps
That's
keep
good.
me,
Yeah, I like it. I get the part about meeting somebody who seems almost too good to be true. Both of you, like, I get it. Somebody vouched for both of you guys who introduced you, because that person knew both of you to some degree, right? So there had to be a little
he
bit.
worked with him
Right.
and he worked with me.
And that's big, right?
Yeah,
like,
it is.
it wasn't like you guys just met on the street and you have zero context on this person, but somebody you both trust and made the intro because they felt like, yeah, they're good enough to meet, right?
That's pretty wild.
Yeah, good stuff. I love it. Love this stuff. That's why I ask. This is great. And yes, always a God thing, right?
Yeah,
There's always
for
that
sure.
Holy Spirit in the mix there. All right, so what triggered you going into real estate? I know there was a boom that's going to come back again, of course.
Yeah.
But what was the internal driver?
The internal driver was, we actually had a property in Pompano, and whenever we were doing taxes, our accountant said, well, if one of you was a real estate professional, you could write X, Y, and Z off.
Right.
And Robert's like, you need to get your real estate license. And I'm like, okay, I will. And it was just, I think I got it just to go, hey, I have my license.
Right.
But it was one of those things where it's like, I'm not really working at the office anymore. Maybe we'll see what comes of it, and
Right.
and I actually ended up loving it. And even in 2023, whenever there really wasn't a whole lot going on, I was still managed to get a few really good sales out of it. So,
Nice.
my thought on it is, if you can do decent in a really bad time, then hopefully you'll do decent in
Right.
a good time. Whenever
yeah.
when the rates and the economy and everything gets back in shape.
Yes. Good stuff. So how did you, or were you done nursing when you went into real estate like that? Like, or were you
So
mixing
I'm never
the boat?
going to be done
mixing
nursing.
two?
I mean, you
Okay.
keep your license up,
Right.
kind
Okay.
of a thing. I left Mayo in 2020, and I I haven't gone back. I have my license still kept up, and I'll keep renewing it probably until like, he and I are both like, okay, we're hanging our hats and calling this thing done,
Right.
Because you honestly, like, you might forget a few things here and there, but you really just don't ever forget like the base knowledge of nursing, like I feel like that's something like once you grasp it, and I've worked in the field for years.
Right.
So, I mean, once you have that, you don't really lose it, you know?
Right. And you've been in some really strong settings too.
Yeah.
Excellent. All right, so let's go into the pregnancy with Colin.
This is the good part I was going to talk to you about.
So let's go where you want to go with that.
Okay, so I'm 28. I'm 27. Actually, I had Colin at 28. So I wasn't really young.
Right.
Because I feel like when you're younger and you have kids, sometimes the weight drops off a little bit easier. It drops off just because you're chasing around a kid anyway.
Right.
But so I found out very early in my pregnancy that I had a condition called placenta previa, which basically, the placenta is supposed to be at the top and mine was at the bottom.
Right.
So like I wouldn't have been able to have natural childbirth. So I had to have a C-section, but I was on bed rest for 7 weeks. And in 7 weeks, I was depressed. I was just eating. I was laying there all day.
Yeah.
I mean, I gained some weight. Like I was packing on some pounds. I think I had this thought in my brain, like, I'm just going to be one of those people that just have like, no, that was not me. I got wide.
You're gaining
I got
it
big.
all
I
over.
really did. I mean, you could look at my face until I was pregnant. And I've shown him like pictures and videos of when I was pregnant. I mean, my face looked, it was crazy how much weight I was. And I mean, and it wasn't like water weight either, because I was trying to convince myself, oh, it's water weight. No, it was not. So I went from, I'd say about 117 to 185 in, I mean, you don't gain all the weight like it was in the end. So in probably a 4-month period of time, I gained like 50 plus pounds.
Wow.
So, I mean, it was, it happened fast.
That had to be hard.
Yeah. And whenever he was born, I was laying in a bed. I'm not looking at myself in the mirror.
Right.
So I get home from the hospital and I'm like, okay, well, I know I need to lose some weight, but like I had been in the hospital for a while and I really, I had some maternity clothes, but I hadn't really thought, how do I put it? I thought when I'd go home, I'd just put my old clothes right back on. And that didn't happen. So then I'm like, oh crap, I got to lose some weight here. So, and we were broke. And I didn't have a lot of money at that time in my life, So I remember thinking, I can't afford to go buy a whole new wardrobe. So I went back into my pregnancy clothes and I made an oath. I'm like, I will lose this weight. And so that's when I started my weight loss
Before all that,
journey.
there was no fitness, nutrition. That wasn't your lifestyle.
There was no nutrition. No, I mean, I wasn't really brought up with nutrition. I don't think my parents really knew anything about it, and they did the best they could.
Right.
They, but I mean, McDonald's would have been a totally acceptable dinner. Taco Bell, whatever. Like they didn't think like I
Understood.
think about. You know what I mean? But I did play sports. So, I mean, I was always active. I've always had like that gene of like, being active and being fit, that I do feel like that's a genetic thing. I feel like genetics play a pretty big role in that. So I've been fortunate
being
in that
at a good
regard.
weight, like just maintaining normal activities. If you played a sport, that was your activity.
Yes. Yeah. So I'm looking at myself and I'm like, I got to do this. So I go to the internet and I'm like, how to lose weight. Well, and keep in mind, this is before I know what I know now. So I'm like, good Lord, you know how many diet plans are out there? Like there's like keto and South Beach was really big at the time and intermittent fasting and
Atkins,
21 days
zero
sick,
carb.
And I'm like, what do I eat?
Endless.
So I downloaded the MyFitnessPal app, and this was a long time ago. So it was like, how much weight do you weigh? What do you want to lose? And it basically, and I don't think it does this anymore. I think it got sued or something, but it basically told me I could eat 800 calories a day. That's what it suggested that I eat. Well, okay, so we all know now that you should never eat 800 calories a day, right?
Especially
think
if you're
if you hear anything,
fitness,
please just know, don't eat 800 calories a day.
No.
But what that taught me was I had no idea what calories looked like.
Okay.
And so the good thing that came out of me doing that was that, I mean, I didn't know what a Coke had in it, what a coffee, a cheeseburger, an apple. I had no idea what had what calories in it. And whenever I worked with patients later, you know, that was something that I really drove home. It's like, you know, I'm not trying to create bad relationships with food with people today, but I do think you should have a screenshot about what you're eating and be honest with yourself about it. You know, like just because
more awareness.
If you go to Starbucks, that counts. You know, like that 400 calorie latte counts. You know, you can't just go, oh, that was bright. You know what I mean? No, it counts.
Yeah.
So it really did make me hyper alert that I was eating like 3,500 calories a day or more of just junk.
Yep.
So that really did put into perspective, like, wow, I need to eat better, because it did show me that, you know, you could eat all of this and feel a lot more full than eating
a lot of healthy foods.
Yes, these things, healthy, exactly, versus, you know, this one donut and French fries, you know, which is very small and processed fast and makes you hungry later.
Super high calorie.
And it's loaded with calories. Exactly. So when people come in and they're like, I don't know where to start, it's like, I've been there. I totally get it. So that kind of started my journey. And then, you know, cut through, life's happening. I'm still trying to eat healthy, and I'm starting to work out in the gym or whatever. So now I meet my husband, my current husband, my forever
Dr.
husband.
D.
And I meet this guy, and he goes, yeah, you know, I used to own this gym, and I work out every day, and I prep my meals. I do meal prep every day, and I eat on a schedule. And I'm like, I'm not doing any of that. I thought that was like the worst thing ever. But you know what? You have to meet people where they're at.
Right.
You know, I just wasn't ready for that conversation.
Yes.
And of course, you know, as he and I, you know, like, we're married, so he's prepping his meals. So now I'm like, okay, I'll prep my meals.
Right.
So it started off with me prepping my meals, and it was hard for me to eat on a schedule. And to be honest with you, even if you're eating healthy foods, when you eat at 7 and then you go to eat at 10 and then you go to eat at if you're eating every 3 hours, by the time you get to like that third meal, you're like, I'm not hungry. And I would text him and I'm like, I can't eat. He's like, eat it, just eat it, you know. And he would tell me to eat, like, you know, and it was good foods, obviously, I was eating. And I'll tell you, by like the second week, I was like, ooh, it's almost 10, I'm ready to eat, because my body had gotten used to
and you're training too.
And yes, and that's an important part of it too. I mean, if you're not training, I still think it's important to eat on a schedule, only because our bodies do work off of signals, you know, like it's archaic
for some
almost,
for some
you know?
people that's their ticket right there.
Absolutely.
Because what they were doing before is totally mindless and random.
And there's a lot of people that support that. I mean, they call it intentional eating or whatever. And I don't really agree with it. But I mean, this is what I have found in my journey. You could find just about anything to back up any thought process. There's always, I mean, we live in a...
Ideally, it has to match the person, though.
Yes.
Like, choosing what works best for you. If it's all based on good principles, then that approach does work for you.
Yeah.
Right?
And also, what are your goals? Are you trying to build a lot of muscle? Like, you're not going to build a lot of muscle if you're intentionally eating. I mean, you know, intuitively. Excuse me. That's the word I was looking for. If you're intuitively eating, you're not going to feel like eating as often as you need to if you're truly trying to build muscle. A lot of women don't really fall into that category. Men do.
Right. Yeah, and that's a big difference right there.
Huge.
Because
So
for
you
a
do
lot
have
of
to know
women,
who you're
a lot of
working
women, it does help to go intuitively. If they're not looking to be a competitor, if they just want to get, you know, nice, tight
Well, and
toned.
it also depends, how much weight are you trying to lose?
Right.
I mean, are you in the habit of what got you where you're at? You know, is your issue overeating? Is your issue not eating enough? That's actually a big problem
mental
too.
food codependencies.
Absolutely.
You
Are you an emotional
various
eater?
layers of this.
Right.
Yeah.
So I guess what I learned from my journey is that there's just so much information out there that it gets lost in the translation of, like, at the end of the day, it's like, what do I eat? You know, like, and so you have to really, my take home message when I work with patients is, let's just learn what good food is and just start there. You know, like, maybe you can't eat on a schedule. Maybe you can't work out every day. Maybe you can't this, and this. But what you can do is eliminate junk. And I can't tell you how many people come in and they're like, oh, I eat really healthy. I eat really healthy. I go to Smoothie King every morning. I do this, and this.
When
and
you
it's
start
like,
looking at the details of what they mean, it's like, no, you're not.
You know, what you don't know what you don't know.
Right, exactly.
And so many people, marketing is real. And food is an industry that makes a lot of money. And like Nutri-Grain bar, doesn't that sound like it's super healthy for you?
Awful.
I mean, there's so many things that it's like you can't eat. Okay, read your label and know what you're eating.
Start learning how to read the labels.
And,
and you determine yourself what is actually healthy and beneficial. Not the name of it, not the look of it, not the commercial behind it.
Correct.
But like, just know your stuff.
You can't trust the commercial.
No. Like,
and once
the Nutri-Grain thing is a great example. That's one example.
Just one. And there's a million examples out there. So whenever you come in and you start learning, like, you know, what macros are, like, what's a good carb, what's a good protein, you know, these are important. You know, what's a good fiber, you know, like how do I get these things in my diet? What's a good source of fat? You know, how do I get them in my diet? This is the conversations that I really try to have because, like I said earlier, you really do have to meet people where they're at. And I say that because we're in January and the new year, new me people are in the gym. And hey, if you're in the gym and you're new, please stay. I think it's awesome that you're there. But here's my one little piece of advice. You can take it or leave it. But when people start out, new year, new me, and you go from sitting on the couch, not really doing a whole lot, sedentary lifestyle, not eating super healthy, to I'm going to get a personal trainer, I'm going to work out 5 days a week, I'm going to do this plan, I'm going to eliminate this. Hold up.
Super overwhelm.
And
you don't even know if you're doing the right things either.
And statistically, the odds of you keeping that up are so low because it's so different.
You're trying to change too much all at once.
Fast. So my biggest thing for people who are like, hey, I'm starting out, especially if you're not in to see me for, you know, to purchase lipo and to get that process started. If you're just like a friend and you're like, I don't know where to start. It's like, okay, don't eat junk and move your body. And if you just go to the gym and get on the treadmill and walk, like just start somewhere, you know, that's really my take home message for a lot of people.
And it is simple. I think a lot of people are like, well, if I just walk, is it really going to do anything? Like, because I see all now, like, I mean, where does it end? TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, YouTube. That person who doesn't know anything, but they want to do something, they're seeing all this stuff. And they're like, well, if all these people are saying all this and I'm seeing all these HIIT programs and this way of training and this outdoor stuff and this, you know, push hard, HIIT, CrossFit.
We talked about that the other day.
How am I just going to get on the treadmill and walk and start making progress? How is my body going to change doing that? The problem is they don't know how to discern good info versus inaccurate, unhelpful info, right? And so yes, contextually speaking, relatively speaking, if you're just coming off the couch, walking consistently and cleaning up the nutrition are the only things you need to focus on right now.
Absolutely.
Right? And then as the weeks and months progress, then you start changing and making progress in what you're doing for movement, physical fitness, training, and how you're modifying your nutrition patterns and habits and shopping.
Yeah, because in the beginning, you'll lose some weight. And then that's not necessarily going to work anymore because, again, our bodies go off and we start adjusting. So now, you know, okay, maybe I got off the couch and I'm walking a little bit and I eliminated soda. Okay, well, now it's time for me to, you know, cut out all fast foods. Or, you know, and another thing, you know, I'll see people killing themselves in the gym. And then their bodies don't change. And it's like, I remember asking Robert, I'm like, I see this lady killing herself. Why doesn't she, you know, this isn't picking people apart. I was like jealous. I'm like, she's really killing herself in the gym.
It's not
It's
criticism.
like she should have better outcomes by now. And he's like, well, you know, if she's not pairing it with good, healthy eating, then it's
or the training may actually need to be tweaked.
Absolutely.
For her.
You know, so it's multifaceted, you know.
Yes. It pays to get the right help, especially if you're totally new and just getting started instead of just guessing at everything. Very good point. Most of my private coaching clients, that's what I do. Like they'll come to me either fresh, brand new, they don't want to guess, or they have been killing themselves on and off for
And
a
they're
few
not getting
years.
the
Like,
results they want,
I don't,
right?
I'm baffled. Like I almost killed myself. Got nowhere, and I'm done guessing.
Yeah,
I
it's
need
such a
somebody
hard
to guide me,
conversation, too,
right?
you know, it's
but
like
the
they're defeated.
honesty with themselves is what's needed first. Like, okay, I know nothing about this, and I'm not going to kill myself. I want to do it right, so I'll make the investment. I'll get on the right track, and then I will stick to making this a lifestyle, so that that investment pays off in more ways than one.
I mean, if you just do a one-time thing where you just
Right.
educate yourself,
Yeah, you don't need a trainer
bit.
forever. Like,
Right.
learn.
I mean, let's
and then
get
go
the
do.
foundation down.
Yes.
Get a little bit of nutritional education under your belt, so you know what you're doing, and you're going to actually see the fruits of your labor.
Yes.
You know, there's nothing more defeating than going, I just don't know what to do, and I'm trying.
Right.
I mean, if you're not trying and you're not getting results, well, you can't complain
Right.
about results that you didn't get from work you didn't do.
Right.
But if you're doing the work, that's just a bad place to be. You know.
Yeah. I've seen a lot of that.
Me too.
And it's happening right now, especially this time of year. A lot of people are doing that little cycle over again. So this is great. So let's dial back a little bit. You weren't big into the meal prep. Rob was. Now we're talking, if I'm calculating properly, 7 years ago.
Yeah, about seven years
All right.
ago.
So and you're like, I'm not doing that.
Nothing. I was like, heck
All right.
no.
So how did we get to that? To where you guys are at now, because it seems like you guys have developed a nice.
Well, I mean, like I was just saying, you can't make somebody that's doing this do this, and I say that, and everything. I mean, I really do try to come from a place of experience and from non-judgment, because let me tell you, I was a Taco Bell drive-through person through and through.
You've been there.
Like, I've been there. I've done the partying, the smoke. I mean, I've done it. And once you get a little older, the name of the game is maintenance.
Right.
You really want to take care of your body, because I want to be able to hang out with my grandkids and and live my life, and and I can't believe I'm saying those words. But I mean, you get
It's true though.
that,
like if you think ahead into the future, like, well, I got to make this body and brain last me that long and beyond if I want to be fully functional and present.
Yeah, because guess what? I'm a nurse and I know what it looks
You've
like
seen-
to be.
you've seen.
I have.
Yes.
And it's very inspiring to go, okay, well, whatever they did, I want to do, or whatever they didn't do, I'm doing now,
Right.
because I don't want, it's a lot of things are avoidable, and that's just what it boils down to.
Way more than people can imagine.
Way more, it's a cumulative,
Right.
Maybe not one exercise, but if you're working out every day, I mean, the benefits of cardio, just cardio has known to ward off dementia, and that's a huge thing in a lot of people's family. Cancer, I mean, the list goes on. So yeah, the motivation's there. But okay, so he's like, I do all of these things, and I'm like, you're nuts. And so then I start doing the meal prep, and I was really struggling with doing it on a time frame basis. But as a nurse, you only worked 3 days a week. So then I was able to kind of, on my days off, really nail it down and dial it in.
Yeah.
And that's when I started going, you know what? I feel pretty good, and I have some energy. I feel better than I've felt in a long time, like since my 20s.
And it wasn't as crazy as you thought it would be doing it.
It really, once you just, and this sounds cliche, but once you accept it as, this is just my life.
Right.
It's not like, oh, I gotta do it. It's like, this is just how I live my life. It's
it makes
choice.
it easier in a lot of ways.
Well, it sure does, because if you're fighting yourself every day, if you're just like, this is what we do now, and believe me, I do it for more than one reason. It's like, eating healthy and working out, you get the benefits of being fit looking, but you also get the benefits of a clearer brain, a better night's sleep, a general feeling of well-being.
Right.
I mean, there's other
there's
benefits
so many
that
benefits.
go with this.
Like,
I mean,
it's not
you go
just
to the
looking
bathroom
good.
better.
Everything.
Things are
Sleep
working
better, yes.
in your body. So it's what I like to tell people that are kind of on this journey. It's like, you know what, when you come to me and you're like, hey, I want to lose 50 pounds, my daughter's getting married. Well, the great thing is, hey, you have a motivating source to start, but you got to find something that's going to keep you on this path. Because
that's
once
just
daughter
one thing with an end date. Like, what about after that?
Exactly. That doesn't mean, hey, I'm just going to go crazy and throw in the towel. And that's the other thing. People go extreme, and instead of going, well, you know what, maybe I can't do all the things, I'm going to cut this one thing out that's hard for me right now. They just go, F it, I'm done, you know? And they get, it's like an all or nothing mentality.
Right.
And this road to fitness doesn't have to be all or nothing,
No, it's much simpler than a lot of people make it out to be. And I get it. It's because they just don't know. Like it's a totally foreign realm to them.
Yeah.
So they can't know. They have to learn. The problem is, again, we're so overloaded with all this different information, and they're hearing stuff from their hairdresser, and they're hearing stuff from
they
their
lost all this weight from doing God
their
knows
in-law,
what. I'm going to do that.
Right. God, where does it end, right? So the overwhelm, I understand. Like I totally get it. And one of the biggest things I do with people is like I tell them straight up, you are going to have to develop filters. Like literally block out almost everything you see in here.
Right.
I don't care if it's your brother-in-law who's selling a new multi-level marketing supplement. I don't care if it's your hairdresser whose neighbor lost 100 pounds and they're going to help people do it too. Whatever. Like literally, you walk into any store, there's no shortage of products and offerings to
it's the biggest money-making business
so
there is out there.
The biggest skill you're going to develop is blocking things out. And then everything that I teach you is where you're going to focus.
That's really
and then
good.
Continue to block things out, just knowing.
I'm going to use that.
And people are like, oh man, I never thought of that. You're
true.
right. I'm bombarded from every angle, online, in person, in the store, TV,
and it's easier
commercials.
to spend money than it is to do the effort.
Right.
And I see, women, we love to shop, they'll come in with their new workout outfits on and their new shoes and their new this and their new that. And I got these
More
bands.
boxes from Amazon.
Yeah, and it's like, I did all the things, and it's like, yeah, but you didn't show up to the gym,
Right.
like just get in there and start doing some work,
Just be consistent,
Yeah.
right? So it's really, if we step back and look at it all objectively, it really is simplification of the whole picture.
Yeah.
What am I gonna block out and rule out and filter out, and what are the things I'm gonna focus on and just continue to do while I continue to block all this other stuff out? Right?
Yeah.
Like, oh, okay, right.
Well,
Once
it's
they
the lack
do that,
of focus that gets people
yes,
derailed mostly.
the distraction
Anyway.
is like what throws a lot of people off. Right?
And there's a lot of them out
I was
there.
doing great for 3 weeks, and then we went away for the weekend, and I came back, and and then I kind of like I saw this other thing. What do you mean you saw this other thing?
Yeah.
It looked great. I was like, I'll try
time,
that
man.
now
This
for a little
thing-
while. Wait,
yeah, right.
but the thing you were doing
Was
for 3
giving
weeks,
you some results. Why did you stop? Oh, well, that was hard.
Right. So those are learning experiences. Like, all right, you see what happened there? I'm highlighting this. You have to make sure that you don't get scattered again and like pulled off track, because people out there are trying to do that to you.
Yeah.
Because you're susceptible to it. So you have to learn how to not get pulled in. Right? And the more people learn, okay, I see that now, the more they're able to like develop. And I tell them, all these people I'm having on the podcast, everything you've learned from me over the last 20 years online, that's what we do. We don't get distracted and scattered and pulled off course. We stay on the track that we know has been working for us, and we just keep trying to gently make it better and better and better. Like, that's the secret. You want the secret?
That really
That's
is the secret sauce,
Right.
It's like once you kind of get to a place of acceptance where, okay, well, like I call it the no matter what club, like
Yes.
if we go to, out of town, well, we get a hotel usually that has a fitness center.
Right.
So, and we're not big drinkers, so we're up early and we do our morning cardio. We might not lift weights, but we're still doing, we might, but we might not. But
right,
like
understood.
we're definitely making some form of effort to
Right.
keep our body in motion. And we pick places that, don't really serve all just fried junk food. It's a conscious effort.
Yes.
It's like,
This is a really good point. Another thing I talk about is a lot of people say, well, we went on vacation and like I kind of got off track then and after that. When I got home, it was like, I couldn't get into the groove. And I was like, well, where'd you go on vacation? And they'll tell me about these places that are designed to like make you not want to do anything
100%,
fitness-wise.
Yeah, right.
They're designed to make you overeat and drink and not stick to your routine, right? So a lot of people have to learn, like, this awesome routine you're doing at home, you take it on the road with you. Like, just because your body's in a different geography, a different location, doesn't change the things you're supposed to be doing, and it doesn't change your goals, right? You still have those
Absolutely.
goals. So I teach people how to create vacations where it's more conducive to stay on track, to continue with your, even if it's not like your same program, you got hikes, you got bike rides, you got
Right.
kayaking, paddleboarding, you can do some training, you bring some
Yeah.
awesome resistance bands with you.
well,
Food,
and at the very least,
you can
if you're
choose food that you want,
Exactly,
especially if you're
that's what I
staying
was
at
gonna say.
Airbnbs. You go
You can
shopping.
get your own food.
Right.
Yeah. I mean, even if you can't hit the gym and do all the things, you can at the very least just not eat a bunch of junk.
Right.
You know?
And there's plenty of activities you can do if you choose your places wisely,
right,
with those intentions in mind.
Yeah. And I mean, vacation is vacation.
Yes.
And like we do, I mean, I don't want it to sound like we don't eat bad. I mean, that
Yeah.
would just be untrue. But it's all conscious. We're
Yes.
not just like lackadaisically like, well, we're just going to forget that we're healthy and that we've made this decision to be healthy. You know, no, it's like, okay, well, we're going to have dessert tonight.
Right.
Like we're going to eat
you
a
allow
healthy
yourself
dinner
to
and then we'll
enjoy
have some
things
dessert.
strategically and mindfully.
And we love our chocolate cake when we get dessert. You
Yep.
know what I mean? And it's that much better because
Yes.
it's not like we just had 15 other pieces of chocolate cake
Right.
that day. You know what I mean? It's like when we cheat, it's like such a fun cheat because
Yeah.
it's like,
Understood.
I swear, your taste buds, if you don't eat junk all the time and sugar all the time,
Right.
it really gets like fruit tastes so much better. Like all the
yes.
natural
when you
stuff.
desensitize yourself
Totally
to
desensitized.
mass
Yeah.
market sugar, fruit tastes awesome.
Well, the
it is
American
dessert.
diet is one big desensitization, I
Oh
swear.
yeah, we
you
could
know?
do 3
I know,
podcast
right?
episodes on that alone.
Yeah.
Actually, we might have to in
Yeah.
the future. We may have
For
to circle
sure.
back on some of those deeper details because a lot of people still need to learn, well, what is it that has me addicted? Why is it that I
Oh,
can't
yeah.
stay on track? What pulls me off? Like there are some real
Well, sugar's a drug, man.
Yeah,
It's a
these-
real drug.
Yes, it's insidious but it's true.
Mm-hmm.
Like what those industries do to people and how they take advantage of them.
Yeah, you're right. That's a whole nother, I could go on and on about that.
We're gonna do more in the future. Definitely have you guys back on. All right, so here's what we're gonna do. Awesome stuff, by the way. I appreciate this big time. See, we talked about we never know what's gonna come out when
I
we have
know.
this conversation.
I really didn't know it would go this way, but how cool,
Here
right?
we are. All right, give me an overview of your weekly training schedule, just a general overview. Like, what's your split like?
I'm a Monday through Friday trainer, and so even on the weekends, so 7 days a week, I do try to get up and do cardio.
Mm-hmm.
So at 5:30, 6 o'clock. If it's the weekends, I'll maybe push it to 6:37 just to sleep in a little bit. But I don't just do cardio because it's good for fat loss, fasted cardio, by the way. But I do it, for me, it's like my anxiety relief.
It's therapy.
If I'm having like a bad day, I'm like, I'm going to go get some cardio. And
Yes.
he's like, you need some cardio. Like, it really is some therapy for me. I mean, it just puts my head on straight. You know,
Yes.
it's just for me. And I know that sounds crazy. And like
A lot of people
10
agree.
years ago, me would be like, what the heck is this girl talking about? Like, I mean, it's just true for me today.
Yeah.
But so I think it's important for me, I'm fortunate enough to be able to work out 5 days a week. If you can't, I think you should combine body parts. But
Right.
so Monday for me is legs, Tuesday is bis and tris, Wednesday is shoulders, Thursday is chest, and Friday is back. And we like to incorporate a little bit of abs here and there,
Right.
as needed. Like when he was doing shows, we did abs a lot more, but I'm going to tell you a statement that I use all the time, and that's abs are made in the kitchen. You know, it's really just about what you're eating because we all have
big.
ab muscles.
It's
We're
big.
going to make them pop
Yep.
out through the kitchen, right?
Training them is one thing, but feeding them properly is another, so
Yeah.
that you can at least see some semblance of a tight core.
Yeah.
Right. Awesome. Okay, that's a great training schedule outline. How would you describe the nutritional framework? I know Rob described it when he was on, but how would you describe like the family nutritional framework?
Well, as far as family is concerned, we just don't have junk in the house. And I know I use the word junk, but for me in my brain, it's like I say it so I remember it because,
there's no potato chips, there's no Oreos, there's no...
Yeah, I mean, so when we're off, we give ourselves reprieves here and
Yes.
there. And the reason why
Yes.
what we do to get back on schedule is we'll have like a trip to go on. So we have a trip coming up for spring break. We're going to
Nice.
go to the Keys. So guess what?
Awesome.
I want to look good in a swimsuit when I go to the Keys. I want to feel comfortable. I don't want
Right.
to say look good. I want to feel comfortable.
Right.
And so as of January 1st, we cut out the chips. But chips are probably our thing, And
I like tortilla chips, I gotta say.
man.
But I buy good ones, like organic,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. So, in the holiday season, we kind of,
Yeah.
I don't
You
love the
enjoy
term
yourself.
bulking
No.
season for
You
women
allow- you
especially.
allow some-
But we do allow some leeway there.
Yeah.
But yeah, since we're kind of in I guess you'd call it a cut, we don't really do that. But in general, we don't really keep, sweets in the house. We do keep some good fruits. And, if my son goes shopping with me and he's like, hey, can I get these? And it's like, I don't know, Oreos or something every once in a while, yes. But
Have him try the Newman's Own Oreos.
Really? Oh, yeah,
organic.
Newman's,
They're so
yeah.
good. Once you get used to tasting wait, there's like no crap in these. These actually
I
taste better.
know.
So yeah, it's still a cookie,
Yeah,
but it's
your
better
point
for
is
us.
there's healthier alternatives
Right,
out there,
right.
and you're absolutely right. Because if you just restrict, at some point you're just gonna binge, and so you really do need those healthy alternatives. So I do agree with
So
that.
this is another point about label reading. If you look at the Newman's Own quote unquote Oreos, they're sandwich cookies, versus the Oreo, right?
Oh,
You read the
yeah.
labels, it's like,
I mean,
whoa.
you can't pronounce any of
These
the
are
others,
really,
can you?
really different.
Yeah.
Right? And then it's like, well, if I'm gonna have them, yeah,
May
maybe
as well
it
have
is
the ones that aren't
$2 more for the whole bag.
Yeah.
But this is my body and my brain we're talking about. And if it's for the kids, like I'm feeding this to my kids, I'm gonna
Right.
get them the better ones, and they have less. They, we space them out. You just put them in a Ziploc, they stay fresh, and now you really get a sense of, this is how Oreo can do like buy one get one free and sell them so
Yeah.
cheap through Walmart. But you look at a good organic brand and you see made with organic unbleached flour, natural cocoa, no preservatives, diglycerides, dough conditioners, no crap like that.
Right.
But
Things
you don't know
can
unless you
pronounce,
look at
right?
that fine print ingredient label that this is a stuff you're either choosing to put in your body or choosing not to and getting the better alternatives when you do it.
Right. Yeah, I mean, that's a good point. And so as far as, I have a young one that's at home. And so because I didn't get this growing up, no one really was encouraging me to
Right.
go to the gym or eat healthy, and again, I feel like they did the best they could with what they had.
Yep, agreed.
I know better, so I do better.
Yes.
And so, I make sure that we plan all of our meals around our protein, and, he's young, so he can have some extra carbs,
Right.
and he loves, so for meals, every dinner, my husband's an old school Italian, we're sitting at the dinner table and we're talking and we're putting the cell phones away, and
Love it.
so we have a good protein. It's usually in the source of, we're hunters, so venison's been a heavy on the list lately. But
Saw that deer you guys got. She showed me the photo.
he got it. That was pretty good.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Well done.
And he's a fisherman too, so we have either fish, chicken, or venison lately as our protein. And then we'll do a carb, which is normally potatoes or rice. And then we have a salad every day too.
Yes,
I
same.
can't really sell that one on the 12-year-old just yet, but I mean, I'm like,
He'll
just
get
eat
there.
something green.
He'll get there.
It's like, I don't want to force it because I don't
he'll
want
get
it.
there.
Yeah.
When as a kid, I was the worst. I was such a pain. I was so picky.
Yeah.
You wouldn't know I'm the same
Well, your
person.
taste buds do change.
Oh,
I
yeah.
always try to tell them, I'm like, well, I know you hated it at 6, but try
Right.
it again. If you hate it still, then, you don't have to eat it. But
Yeah, definitely. So if I remember right, you guys lean mostly toward organics?
as much as possible. I mean, definitely the porous vegetables like kiwi, any of the berries, If it has a really thick rind, I mean, maybe, but I mean, honestly, it gets soaked in no matter what.
It's in the fertilizer, it's
so
in the
I
ground,
really-
it's in the dirt, it's in the water, it's getting pulled into
just-
that food.
when you know, you know.
Yeah, right.
And it's like when you're awakened to this concept, it's just really
You
hard
look at
to-
things very differently.
I mean, again, this didn't happen for me overnight. I have
Understood.
come into this way of thinking. And, I always say that to people that are new to this. It's like, you can't have a conversation about chemicals and stuff when somebody's just stopping eating fast food.
Right.
It's like, hey, just eat whole foods that come from, that where they come from,
Right.
and let's start there. And then, and I want to tell you also, it's like a free plug for this app that I use called Yuka, Y-U-K-A. You can scan things. I'll show you afterwards too. I'll scan this and see if that pops up for you. But it'll give you a percentage of, or a number 0 to 100, 0 being terrible, 100 being perfect. And it kind of tells you where it falls in on what the ingredients are.
Okay.
And if it's hazardous, it'll say,
Right.
this is why it's hazardous. And a lot of the ingredients, and that includes cosmetics, things that we put on our skin,
Right.
are endocrine
Yes.
disruptors. And that's why a lot of, kids are going through puberty a lot quicker. Women are having these issues losing weight because of how bad their hormones are being messed
Right.
up. So, I mean, that's a whole nother conversation, but it's hard to have that conversation with somebody who's just starting.
Yeah.
It's
Again, it's
overwhelming.
overwhelm, yes.
People dedicate their their careers to health and fitness. So
Right.
you can't sum it all
No,
up
it's
in
got to
one,
be gradual,
and that's why
drip
if
fed.
you jump on this for life, you every day, and I feel like I know, probably I'd say more than the average person,
Yes.
but definitely not as much as somebody who went to school and did this for
Right.
years, 20 years or whatever. But I mean, it's every day I'm still learning.
Yeah.
Every day I
Agreed.
learn something new.
So am I. I mean, I have my master's degree in exercise phys, but like I learn things just from all the guests I'm having on here. And when I do my long distance podcast on the other channel, I learn things from my clients.
Yeah.
Right. So it's all a matter of how we take things in, process them, and make something good out of that. But it would never stop learning.
Yeah.
Right. Even if it's mostly the mental part, not so much the, what do I eat, what do I drink, how do I train?
I swear most
but
of it's mental
also
mindset.
the mental part.
Yeah, when people go to really start this, I'm like, now I want you to get mentally prepared.
Yes.
Because the hardest part of any nutritional change is the first 3 days.
Right.
After you get over that hump, I promise it gets easier. But I'll tell you, those first 3 days is what does people in.
Yeah.
That's when they go, I can't do it.
They have to be open to basically being reprogrammed, right?
Yeah.
Mental reprogramming. It's all possible. I mean, I've seen it many times
yeah,
with clients, and both in person and long distance. So it's very possible. We just have to let people know it is possible, they're capable, and that's what they should expect from themselves, right? Beautiful stuff. All right, so are you into coffee or tea?
I am. My husband gave up caffeine and he swears
Right.
by it.
So what is your habit?
Well, I've gotten away from doing it every day, but I'm a coffee person. I really enjoy coffee. And
how do you make it? How do you
black.
prep it?
And
Black, straight up?
I'll even do I'll make a pot of it and I'll drink the first cup hot and then I just put the rest in the fridge and drink, it cold. I mean, I've kind of gotten to where when I first got into fitness and I realized how much calories were in my favorite Starbucks drink, it ruined coffee for me.
Right.
So then I was like, well, if I like the effects produced by coffee, I'm going to have to learn how to drink it black. And that's kind of how I've come into that. But I mean, it's still a vice because,
I have plenty every day.
Yeah.
And it's not nearly what it used to be, but I still have my little recipes. I'll put some cocoa or cacao, depending on what I have, a little bit of organic stevia. I'll do a little bit of vanilla soy milk or vanilla almond milk.
Yeah, now if I'm feeling fancy,
I'll jazz it up.
Yeah,
But
I'll do a little bit of stevia
even
and
that,
almond milk.
it's still maybe 150 calories
Yeah,
max
and you're not
instead of
even-
450
Right,
or 500, right? It might even be less than 150, but it's got something. But still, everything I'm putting in there, it's all good. There's no garbage going in here. There's none of these artificial sweeteners or whatever, like the sucralose, the aspartame.
Yeah, that's
All right?
the big one.
You know what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
The chemical sweeteners. All right, without naming any name brand, do you take any supplements?
Yeah.
Multivitamin, what do you take?
Well, I think most people should do a multivitamin, but I think for me specifically, magnesium, vitamin D, zinc, and C are the ones that, and I do appreciate a probiotic here and there also. I think that's a great starting point. I think as Americans, most of us are deficient, especially in D and magnesium. But I mean, I also take them at specific times. And I think fish oil is also another thing that is, and again, you can spend the one disclaimer that I give, because we do sell supplements and I won't name any brands, but they're not FDA regulated.
No,
So you could literally go to
there's
the dollar
garbage out
store
there,
and
yeah.
get, God knows
Junk.
what.
Nothing.
So when you are, and remember, you're investing in your health, so whenever you go to do the whole supplement thing, there's a lot of money to be made in it. So do your research and make sure that whatever you do is pharmaceutical grade,
Right.
you know?
Yeah, speaking of that, anybody who's wondering, I had my supplement on the table for the first episode because I didn't take it in the morning. I had a lot of people asking me, what's that container you got by you? I want to know what that is. Well, this is the Brain Belly Body Elixir Mixer. So I'm leaving it here because if people are asking about it, I'm going to leave it here.
Sure.
And if you want the website, I'll give that to you at the end as well. Good stuff. So you take all those. Do you take a multivitamin mineral or no? You just take all the other singular supplements?
I take them singular.
Okay.
I don't really take a multivitamin.
Any protein powder?
Oh yeah, so I do a whey protein.
Whey protein.
Once a day. Usually it'll be in my post-workout meal. It's just an easier way to get it in.
Right.
I used to do it in the morning. I've kind of tried to start My husband is a creature of habit. He could eat the same thing every day and it just doesn't seem to bother him. I get burned out on things. So now I've gone from doing oatmeal with protein powder in it, so like my carb and my protein,
Right.
to now I'll do like potatoes and eggs,
Okay. Yeah.
egg whites.
Oh yeah. Okay, that works. You go organic on the eggs?
You know, now that's something that, yes, but I have a couple of friends who have chickens. So like my favorite is whenever
Oh yeah,
I get
like
eggs
if they're
from,
growing them themselves, yeah.
You can tell
They
the
don't-
difference
yes,
too.
yes.
But I kind of go with what's on, which is probably not the right answer, but I do go with what's on sale because, you know, eggs have gotten pretty
Yeah, they've
expensive.
gotten almost
but
double,
I mean,
it
you can
seems
find
like.
some cage-free organics for like, you know, $4.99, which is about where I'm
Walmart
at.
even has them.
You know what? When Dr. D was here and you were talking to him about check out Walmart and Costco, I went to Walmart and I was like, dang, Walmart.
Pretty good, right?
You've stepped up your game.
And the pricing is
Their
is
organic
solid.
section is legit.
Oh yes. So if you go to the
I went to the one on Beach, but I live close to the one on
big one.
Kernan also.
Right. The big ones have a bigger selection of organics. The smaller neighborhood markets, they still have them, but it's a little bit more limited.
Yeah.
The big ones have a lot of good
Yeah, it was
stuff.
the big one. I was like, wow,
Yeah.
I was blown away.
And again, like definitely half the price of what you'd pay in Publix or Whole Foods.
Yeah.
Not that I don't go to those places,
Sure.
but like if I could get half of what I need at Walmart for half the price.
Yeah, as I've gotten older, I will do like a little bit here. Because I mean, back in the day when you're like, you know, if you have kids and you got a full-time job and you're like, man, I got like one day to go shopping and I'm going
Right.
to go to this one spot. It used to be Publix. When I was like really on a budget, I would go to Walmart.
Right.
But now I want to go to Walmart either way, just because hey, Walmart's got a lot of
Yes.
selection.
All right. So you
know?
went there. You
Yeah.
say, oh yeah, he's right. So what
Yeah.
did you find? What did you like?
So they had like like cucumbers are like super cheap unless you get organic, and then they could get really expensive really
Right.
fast. And the same with peppers. And they had peppers, onions, like
Organic.
everything organic.
Yes.
So I was like, hey, I'm just gonna start coming here. It's
Right.
easier.
And depending
cheaper.
on where you're looking, there's usually in the big Walmarts, there's like an island stand, and they'll have a lot of. On one side, there'll be a bunch of seasonal fruits. So like summer is peaches, nectarines, kiwis, etc. Mangoes, awesome. And then the other side will
Fan of
be
mango,
like
for sure.
tomatoes, apples, some other veggies, onions. So there's a lot of stuff. If you look, they're not always all in one place.
Yeah.
So next time you go, look for the island.
I always went to like the one that when you first walk in, where they have like the noise in the water and everything, and it's all like right
Yes.
there. It seems like the organic is like right there in the middle.
Yes, if you turn around.
But if you turn around,
that
I know
island
exactly.
should be there
yeah.
somewhere. And if you look, all this is organic. It's just not very obvious.
Right.
But when you see the coloring on the package, you can see
Right.
everything
You do
that's
have to
organic
look.
has like a purple
Yes.
logo on it, and it says organic. If you look, like, okay, now I got it.
Yeah, and it's just way more prevalent now. Before it was like they had 2 organic
Yes.
things and it was like
Right.
$1 million,
No, it's-
and now it's just. I love that,
Yep.
and I hope that continues to get better.
It's going to. Like, how did it even start for Walmart to be even having organics?
That says a lot,
Right?
doesn't
It says a lot. And you could tell a difference. If people say, "Oh, I can't tell a difference," maybe
Oh,
you're not.
you
Like,
absolutely.
if your taste buds and your senses are developed enough, and you pay attention, you can tell a difference. Even if
can.
you let organic bananas get ripe on the counter versus traditional, regularly farmed bananas on a countertop, you will see them ripen very differently.
Well, the organic always ripens faster.
But like they look better.
Oh, they look way better,
Like
yeah.
the regularly farmed ones look like there's something wrong with them when they're
there
getting ripe. Yeah, like it's like, okay, what's causing that?
Yeah.
And it's consistent. That'll happen every time.
That's a good point. It's true.
All right. Are there any specific, we touched on this a little bit, any specific improvements you want to make in the near future, like maybe for that trip coming up, spring break? Anything specific?
For myself, so I always kind of struggle with whenever I go in and out of, a cut or being serious and strict, I guess I should say. As soon as I let go, I think, and this is common for most women, I'll start getting extra weight on my tummy and my thighs. That's like, I never really get any on my face and arm. I don't know, but it's my tummy and my thighs. So right now my focus is, And I look at the InBody sometimes, and I know I'm at one number, so I have like another number that I have in mind. But to be honest with you, it's really just about like feeling comfortable at this stage. Like I have high expectations for myself because I'm somewhat of a perfectionist, and like, it's hard to have this conversation with other people because I can't tell you how many times people are like, you don't need to lose weight, you look at, and it's like, well, I don't eat healthy to lose weight, you know what I mean? And and when people tell you that you look good for your age or for your size or whatever, it's like, my immediate thought is, well, I try. This isn't by accident.
Your lifestyle is conducive to all that.
Right. And it's not like, oh, I look so great or anything like that. But it's like the people who do look well, and look good, it's not because they just stumbled upon it, especially if you're over a certain age.
Oh, they're putting in the effort. They're making the daily effort.
So I do feel like I put in the effort, and sometimes more than others. And right now I'm just have kicked it into high gear. So I do want to see some firming up in those areas.
So firming
that's kind of my goal right now.
The typical women's trouble zones.
Right. And I'm not into, I am like that, what is it, like ecto, meso, whatever. I'm like that not really easy to build muscle kind of body type. And so I don't know if I'll ever have that as a goal. Like, I'll always want to sustain some muscle, but I just don't build muscle really easily, but I can stay lean and tone. And that's, I guess, where my goal is.
Okay. Understood. I'll put an invite, if approved by Dr. D, if you ever want to train any body zone with me, like, I will definitely teach you a few things that you could add into your
awesome for
repertoire.
Sure.
Like lower body, like, is one of my specialties. But once you do that, you'll be like, oh, I can also do something similar for mid body, arms, back, chest, whatever. Don't hesitate to ask. Just say, all right, I want to do lower body. When can we do it? Because I'm on a similar rotation as what you described. A little different, but it's legs, chest, back, core, abs, which was today. Tomorrow's shoulders, and then arms the last day, and I go back to lower body again after that. So if you ever want to do lower body or even any other body zone, don't hesitate to ask.
Awesome,
because I could definitely propel your progress a little bit.
Cool.
Even if it's just a little. No beast mode stuff, I promise you that. Like,
good, I
do the opposite. Like, you guys have seen me train. Like, I'm not going beast mode. I'm actually going gentle mode, but there's something to be said about it.
I'm telling you, like, a lot of my friends are like, well, you probably can do like what are those, like the Titan or whatever. I'm like, what are you talking about? I don't run. I don't do any of those things.
Right.
Like, it's just,
like the Spartan race.
Yeah. No, I'm not a runner. I'm telling you, it's like, that's a good take home message too. It's like just consistency. Do a little bit every day. You don't have to go crazy.
No, you have to go in competitions. You don't have to.
Believe me, I'm not doing any of that.
Beast mode to reach goals. No. It's counterproductive for most people. Agreed. Most people aren't built to be athletes, but we are built to be fit, healthy, and strong.
Agreed.
All right. Long-term goals. Give us a gist for what do you see as your long-term goals? How would you describe them in 2 sentences?
In 2 sentences, my long-term goals are to age gracefully and to stay mobile.
Nice.
I want to be able to, I think that the mark of aging is dysmotility or immotility.
Right.
So I want to a body in motion stays in motion.
Right. Mobile or mobile, there's a lot inside that word. You have to be strong, you have to be flexible, you have to be balanced, you have to have coordination, you have to have agility. And of course, a lot of that also involves mental acuity. Right? So that one word says a lot. Well done. Love it. Mobile. All right. And so, like, as anybody listening right now or watching, like, when you hear this and you're thinking to yourself, ooh, I got to get on track, or ooh, I got to get back on track, or maybe for the first time in your life, get on track. You can't be thinking, oh, I'm going to do this to get all the weight off, or I want to look good.
Yeah.
Right? None of that matters. You want to do this for the functionality of
that
it,
comes
for the
later.
quality of life. Think, I want to be mobile. I want to be able to move properly.
Yeah, when I'm 80, I want to be mobile.
Now and 50 years from now.
Quick story. My dad retired not too long ago, and it's like sad because he can't even really travel, It's like he's just...
See, this is what I mean. Awesome point. Like,
I mean,
if
I don't
you
wanna
don't
be-
have physical abilities
Yes.
and, of course, mental abilities, then you can't do the things you want to do.
Absolutely. And it's
You are
so
homebound.
sad. It's like I worked my whole life to retire, to sit at home.
Right.
Like, I mean, the plans just go to the wayside if your body can't do it.
Exactly. You have to have strength, stamina, flexibility, the agility to be able to do all these things. And if you let those things go,
Yeah.
then your whole life
Everything
is
else
limited.
goes.
Even if you're living, like if you're living, your life is still limited, which is not life.
Agreed.
Right?
Sad, right?
Yes, big time. You guys know, I think I told you guys about my mom a couple weeks ago. She did have an ischemic event. Right? So we're working through all of that, her, working through her mental side of that, her accepting the fact that, okay, my lifestyle wasn't the greatest, but God spared her. The Lord is watching.
Amen.
Here's a second chance right now. So she hasn't smoked since December 30th when she had the first event. She's like, yeah, I think I'm done. This is no joke.
Yeah.
So
I
prayers
hate that
going
people
up.
have to get scared into it.
I know,
You know?
but
It's like,
it
at least
happens
it came,
so often, right?
You know?
Right. So they have a second chance, right?
Exactly.
Take advantage of that second chance if you're listening and you have a second chance, or don't wait for that
Right.
to
Yeah,
have to
even
happen.
better.
Like, make it happen yourself.
Right.
All right. Have you ever had? I know, like the pregnancy, that was big, but have you ever had another setback, maybe in the last 7 years, an injury, something, a life event that threw you off, or no?
I've been very, very lucky in that.
Okay.
I really have not.
Understood. Now, that pregnancy thing was a biggie. That's going from
Yeah.
117
I'll
to
tell you
185.
what, I remember my sister, I don't know if she'll ever listen to this podcast, but
Share it with her.
She and I are very different. She had my dad's genes. I got my mom's genes. She's a heavier girl. She's short and heavy. And she looked me in the eye and said, you're never going to be a size 2 again after I had Colin. And I remember thinking like, oh, don't tell me I'm not, and I got back into my size 2, 3s or whatever they were at the time, because I just remember thinking like, I'm not going to accept this as that,
Right.
And it was just, I don't know. It's like she just got to a place of acceptance that's just
And
the
a lot
way
of people,
it had
a lot
to
of
be.
people do that. That's unfortunate, but
Yeah.
it doesn't have to be that way.
No.
Okay, this has been beyond awesome. Thank you again.
Awesome, cool.
Like, you almost did Dr. D, but I'm going to say it's equal.
It's hard to outdo this
Yeah,
guy.
this was good stuff. So I told you it's okay. We're gonna talk about different things that are naturally gonna come up, and we did that. So if you're tuning in, if you're watching on video, you're ready to nominate, give me a question, and then we'll share social. All right, who are you nominating for a
All
future
right.
episode?
I have a good buddy. Her name is Rachel Phillips, and she owns, I think it's Fit and Fabulous, I think is the name of it. But she has a nutrition brand that she does. She's local. She's a power lifter. She just had a baby, and she doesn't even look like it. She's awesome. She's a
What's
great...
the last name?
Phillips.
Phillips.
She's a good person.
Where's she based out of?
Jacksonville.
Okay. Has she ever been to the gym, or she just does her training?
She's been in the gym for like food, like to drop off food and stuff
Okay.
like that, but like for orders or whatever. But
And what's
she's
her
very
age?
aware of. I'm pretty sure she's probably 38, like ish, my age.
Nice. That's midlife.
Yeah,
All
no,
right,
she
cool.
does the deal. She definitely trains. I think her husband's into it too. You might even hear from him at some point.
awesome.
Like they're a healthy family. I love
Okay.
it.
Yeah, this
she
is
worked
good.
out all through her pregnancy. I was like, can't relate, but I loved it. I love seeing it.
Awesome. Does she have any idea you were going to nominate her?
Yeah, I asked her.
Oh,
I
and
was
she
like,
was
do
good
you
with it?
mind if I nominate you? And she's like, absolutely. I'm
Awesome.
like, you can plug your brand, and so.
Perfect. So connect us later today or
Yep.
tomorrow, whatever. Thank you. That's a great nominee, by the way. Much appreciated.
Sure.
All right. What's your question for me? Bring it.
All right. So if I know you got a good start because your dad gave you some advice in the gym and got you going.
Yeah.
If you had to do anything over again, do you think you did everything perfectly in the fitness world for you? Or if you had to redo in an area, like I would never have taken this supplement, or I would have started this supplement, or like what's a change you would have made?
So even though I was exposed to this basically from birth, and that was a huge blessing. Again, I talked more about it with Dr. D on that episode, but even in person, you and I have had some conversations. I personally have always struggled with food issues, major codependencies. Even though I was very picky, my Italian upbringing, the the high priority on food as an Italian is kind of like almost dysfunctional if you like look at it objectively.
Yeah.
Right?
Agreed.
Now, if you have a good mindset, you can put all that into proper perspective and manage it okay. I had an eating issue, and I was bad. Like as a kid, I'd go into the cookie boxes before dinner was served. They'd see those red and white strings. I'd open them up.
You remember that?
Get the cookies, and I'd retie them, and they knew it was me. I would have loved to have some kind of mental help on the food side. Maybe not even as a younger kid, but maybe even as a teen, to help me have better perspective on my food codependencies. Because there were times in my journey where I think I blew up to like 170. You know, I'm like 5'2"-ish. And I kind of hover around 130 now, give or take, at a decent body fat percentage. In the summer and spring, I get a bit leaner. But, you know, hovering around 130, 135, going up to 170 when I did, it was a combination of life factors, really, really challenging marriage that led to the first divorce, super dysfunctional, super stressful. And so I leaned into the eating and drinking a lot more. Not alcoholic type drinking, but drinking on top of the eating was like, it was just way more calories than this body and brain needed. And I blew up. My back would hurt, my low back, mid back. I felt so crappy. Sleeping was off. Everything, like everything that could be off was off. And all my medicals, all my vitals were looking really bad. Blood pressure, crappy. Triglycerides, crappy. Cholesterol levels getting bad. Doctors like, dude, like you're only in your 30s or whatever, like almost 30, late 20s, early 30s, and these numbers looking like this up and down these years with your weight going like this. I was like, yeah, I know, and I knew it, but I just didn't. Like I would be able to diet down sometimes, which proved, okay, I know what to do to get all the weight off. But the pull of all these different foods, and I'm talking like, if you saw me eat, you'd be like, what the heck?
Right.
Like he could put it away. And I'm talking breads, carbs, sweets, pastas, dessert, ice cream, cookies, cakes, you name it. And I would start early. I would do like these big, massive breakfasts under the guise that I'm trying to bulk up. It's like, bulk up. That's 3 people bulking up. Right. So I wish I had better mental coaching or therapy in my younger years to help me sort out these food issues and codependencies that I developed over the years through a combination of factors. I was able to do that over the last maybe, I don't know, 10 to 13 years.
Pretty miraculous you were able to address it at this stage, you know?
Yeah. And honestly,
you could have gone one or the two ways here.
I could have easily, very easily. But I know one of the big ingredients for helping me get that all under control and like master it was basically reading scripture and getting into the Bible and reconnecting with Christ on a personal level. I mean, because now if you start doing that as part of your daily habits, there's a lot of stuff in the Bible that's like
everything.
These are rules and principles that have been here since the beginning. Whatever you want to call the beginning, these are the rules we were given. I just have to follow these. And again, there's way too much to talk about.
Sure.
It's not just like, oh, eat this, don't eat that. It's way deeper than that. It's very spiritual, it's mental. It's like once you start taking everything in collectively and really having it reprogram your soul and your thinking, it's like then your decisions start to change, your habits, the vices start to change. What's important to you starts to change. Like it became important to me to do the things to honor this temple that is a miraculous gift from God instead of destroying it and allowing demonic forces to make me want to eat all the bad crap to kill this life. I wanted to give this body and brain more life, right? So again, we're going down another big rabbit hole there.
No, but it's a good point, though.
But that was a big part of my own self-therapy.
I love that.
Is that
What
good?
a
Good answer?
testament. How great. I love. Yeah, absolutely.
Thank
Perfect
you. And
answer.
there's truth to it. Like, I know a lot of people need outside help,
Yeah.
which I'm all for. Like, whatever it takes, because it's all for the better.
Well, yeah, you can't fix self with self,
No,
you know?
no. But what that allowed me to do, again, it's around the last 13 years total, being that person, being in like my ideal client's shoes as a person myself, it gave me that perspective. What does it feel like? What does this actually feel like as a person being controlled by things outside of you instead of you having the control inside of you?
Right.
And then learning how to come out of that and reprogram myself and like absorb. For me, it was a lot of scripture. For other people, it's not scripture, but it still can be done. Just for me, that was just one of the main ingredients. It proved to me that, okay, I can do this. I did it my own way, but I did it. I learned what it feels like. I learned that it can be done. And now that's one of the ways I'm going to be able to help people. It's because I've been there.
Exactly. I never would have known. I mean, and hopefully people wouldn't have known that I was so overweight before also. But, you know, it puts us in a position of being uniquely qualified. You know, it's hard to help somebody with something that's never had the problem,
right.
You know? So when you can look at somebody and go, I know it's tough getting started. I know it's tough.
I've been there.
Yeah.
We've been there.
Yeah.
Right?
I know it's tough, you know, but
you know what it feels like.
But I keep doing it because I get the benefit of it, and I am positively reinforced to continue to do it for some reason, you know. So if I can do it, and I promise you this, if I can do it, you can do it.
Right here, same here. Agreed. Like, I'm human, you're human.
Right.
We've overcome some mountains, and being human, anybody can do it. So take that and make it your own. Everybody has their own version of getting better and coming out of it. So great question. Thank you.
Sure.
All right, so let's share the social before we wrap up here. The website is Dr. D.
Yep, DRDJax.
DRDJax. DRDJAX.com. That's the chiropractic practice
and our
website.
Liposlimming laser.
Liposlimming
They can see our
laser.
before and after pictures.
Yep.
They can send us emails, ask us questions. We have a $49 special going on right now. Check that out.
January, right?
Yep.
All right, and what was the other one? Oh, the realtor.
Yep, if you are interested in buying or selling, KD_ realtor 4, the number 4, Jax, JAX.
All right, so that's KD
_
Kristen D, that's KD _ realtor, REALTOR, number 4,
Jax.
Jax, JAX. And this is Instagram, right?
Correct.
All right, so that's IG, Instagram, KD _ realtor 4 Jax. That's where you can connect with Katheryn. If you is it mostly real estate you're doing on there? Like,
On that one, it's all real estate.
okay, so buying or selling, can they, if they're out of state, can they get in touch with you if they're
Absolutely.
interested?
Send me a message.
Okay, so if you are out of
And my
state
number's on
and
there
you're
too,
interested in
so.
moving to Jax or St. Augs or
Yeah, anywhere in Northeast Florida.
anywhere in Northeast Florida, you can connect with her if you want to come enjoy this paradise of a place we all live in.
That's
right.
We do live in paradise. It's awesome here.
It is. We're trying to keep it a secret, but
Yeah,
you're
don't-
watching this. It's
yeah,
hard
right?
to keep a secret. So we'll let you in if you come through, Katheryn. All right, we'll let you in. Awesome interview. Much appreciated.
Awesome, thanks.
Superb, superb. All right, so you heard it all. If you have any questions for me, if you have any questions for Katheryn, or even for Dr. D behind the cam, you could go watch his episode. Be sure to watch all the previous episodes after you watch this one. If you're on audio, again, midlifemusclepodcast.com to the videos, Midlife Muscle News for the newsletter. I'm going to share any links we mentioned in this episode. I'm going to post in the show notes, so you're going to want to look for those. And as promised, GetLivingStrength.com is the supplement, GetLivingStrength.com. And that's it. Until the next episode, peace and much love to you. We'll see you next time. Great work.